Good day po sa ating lahat. We are the Group 6. So um, we will be reporting our report with regards to the principles of governmental management. With me, yours truly, Christine Aragas, Marie Christine Minted, and Mokhtar P. Tampang. So the subtopics are the following: the hierarchy and authority, responsibility and accountability, which will be reported by yours truly, unity of command to be reported by Mukhtar P. Kampang, specialization and division of work, and public interest and ethics, that will be reported by Marie Christine Pinted. With that, we will proceed to our first topic, which is the hierarchy and authority, and also the responsibility and accountability. So ano nga ba yung importance of my topic? So these are the following: effective governance. These principles provide the structural and procedural framework for government operations, enable efficient decision making, resource allocation, and service delivery. Also, organizational efficiency, hierarchy, and authority create a clear chain of command, preventing chaos and overlap, while responsibility and accountability ensures tasks are completed diligently and ethically. Next, ethical conduct. Accountability mechanisms promote transparency and deter corruption, fostering public trust and confidence in government institutions. Also, public trust. When government operates with fairness, integrity, and accountability, it builds trust with citizens, leading to greater cooperation and social cohesion. Also, responsive service delivery. A well-managed government is better equipped to respond to the demands of its citizens, providing timely and effective services that improve quality of life. And lastly, sustainable development. Effective government management is essential for achieving long-term sustainable development goals such as economic growth, social progress, and environmental protection. So government as an organization. So government offices operate as structured organizations where each position supports overall services delivery. So government, all, sa ating lahat dito, as we all know naman, ang isang organization, opisina, such as the government offices, meron talaga yung mga structured organizations wherein may mga iba-ibang positions from lowest to highest. Uh, Yun lahat, nagtatrabaho and may counterparts sa lahat ng services para we can deliver it to the public. So let's proceed to the hierarchy. So by definition, hierarchy refers to the formal arrangement of positions that defines lines of supervision and reporting. And also, hierarchy in government management establishes a clear chain of command, or each level of organization has defined rules and responsibilities. So, tama yun, no? Each sa atin sa government, sa offices, naka-establish talaga yung hierarchy. So, from the staff management down to the bottom management. So, nandun lahat nakalagay yung each rules ng isa't isa and the responsibilities also. So, for example, sa amin sa DNR and also sa LGU, so from the top, we have of course, the head of office, which we call in sa amin sa field offices is the CENRO, the Community Environment and Natural Resources Officer. So, yan yung pinaka head namin. And also, uh, followed by the section chiefs or the division heads and the staff and field personnel. So this hierarchy ensures that the government operations follow a systematic flow, preventing chaos and overlap of duties. It provides a framework where instructions and policies cascade higher levels to lower levels. So, yun na nga, itong main purpose ng hierarchy is meron siyang pattern. Hindi siya basag. So, from the head of office, so down to the the staff, so meron silang defined na mga rules and responsibilities na kailangan nilang gawin. So, the purpose of hierarchy, so number one is maintain clear communication, of course. So, para walang lakawan, para walang miscommunication. So, ito si hierarchy is nandito siya para ma-maintain yung clear communication. For example, kung si subordinate mo as a section chief, so kailangan niya mag-communicate sa kanyang section chief bago doon sa bago siya doon sa mas mataas. So, kailangan mo na dito sa baba is mag-communicate kayo para iwasan natin yung miscommunication. So, other is the prevent duplication of functions. Tama. So, para effective yung ating organization and also efficient, si hierarchy is makakatulong para iwasan natin yung duplications ng functions. All and lastly supports accountability. Tama. So, kung si head of office, so siya ang pinaka-head, so she is must establish accountability sa lahat ng kanyang decision making. And ganun din, from the bottom, dapat merong accountability lahat. Next one, let's talk about the authority. So, ano nga ba si authority? So, si authority is the legally granted power to issue directives and make official decisions. So, for example, sa amin, so, ang meron talagang authority sa aming office is, of course, our head of office, which is our Senro. So, siya yung may power na mag-issue sa amin ng mga First, yung mga directives niya. So, yun yung ginagawa ng isang head of office. But, authority, dapat may mga limitations. Limitations yun siya. So, number one, so must be exercised within legal bounds. When we say legal, so in line with the existing uh, laws, guidelines. So, dun lang dapat si authority must hold fairness and integrity, and also must serve public interest. So, authority in government is derived from laws, constitutions, and formal regulations. So, doon lang dapat si um, authority, dapat may limitation siya. Kasi kung walang limitation si authority is ang mangyayari dyan is abuso. So, next one, um, definition of responsibility. So, responsibility is the obligation to perform assigned duties efficiently and ethically. So, responsibility, this entails a moral and legal duty to execute tasks correctly and efficiently. So, the government officials are expected to uphold public interest and comply with established standards. Also, responsibility in official functions. So, preparation of accurate reports, conduct of monitoring activities, professional public assistance. So, next naman is si accountability. So, ano nga ba si accountability? So, accountability refers to the obligation to answer for actions, decisions, and use of resources. So, the accountability mechanisms include reporting requirements, audits, performance evaluations, and sometimes legal consequences for misconduct or negligence. So this mechanism promote transparency and trust in the government operations. So basically, these two, responsibility in government refers to the obligation of officials and employees to perform assigned tasks diligently and ethically. On the other hand, accountability complements responsibility by requiring these individuals to answer for their actions and decisions to superior stakeholders and the public. Accountability in public service. So, yun na sinabi ko kanina. So, transparency in transactions, proper utilization of government resources, corrective action when necessary. So, ano nga ba yung interrelationship nitong um, dalawa? So, the principle, yung dalawa, yung hierarchy and authority and the responsibility and accountabilities. So, the principle of hierarchy and authority create a structured environment where responsibilities are clearly assigned. In turn, responsibility demands that officials fulfill their duties while accountability ensures they are answerable for their performance. So this interrelationship fosters an environment of order, control, and ethical governance. So, for example, in the government department, so si manager, which is the manager or the head of office, siya yung may authority. So he or she delegates tasks to subordinates. So si subordinates, sila yung may responsibility. So the subordinates must perform their task and report back on outcomes. So yan yung diyan naman papasok si accountability. So if responsibilities are neglected, accountability mechanisms identify lapses and informs corrective actions. So itong topic ko ngayon is uh, ano sila, may interrelationship talaga sila. So in conclusion, hierarchy, authority, responsibility, and accountability are essential principles in effective public service. They provide structure to our organization, guide decision making, and ensure that duties are carried out properly. So when authority is exercised within legal limits, responsibilities are clearly fulfilled, and accountability is called, public trust is strengthened. So as government employees, our commitment to these principles contributes to transparent, efficient, and responsive governance, ultimately improving the quality of service delivered to the people. So these are my references for this report. So thank you.
So once again, isang magkakalikasang hapon sa ating lahat, no? So here's the continuation on the report on the principles of governmental management. So my topic is about unity of command. So the principle of unity of command states that every government employee should receive instructions and supervision from only one immediate supervisor. So in the DNR, no, kung saan ako nagtatrabaho, example ko na lang, unity of command is reflected in its clear hierarchical structure from the DNR secretary down to regional executive director, down to PENRO, Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Officer, down to the CENRO, and also to the section chiefs and field personnel. So for the DNR CENRO Calamansig, no, kung saan ako nagwo-work, this means that personnel officially receive instruction through their designated supervisors, primarily the CNR officer, no, and immediate section heads, even when tasks originate from the higher offices, such as the regional office or PENRO, directives are expected to pass through proper channels to maintain order and consistency. So here's the content of my slides. Concept of unity of command, application in the DNR organizational structure, importance in program implementation, role in accountability and discipline, and managing inter-office coordination without violating unity of command and relevance to good governance. So concept of unity of command. So it ensures clarity and accountability. The principle ensures that employees receive directives from only one superior, which promotes clarity in authority, consistency in tasks, and accountability in performance execution. And it reduces confusion and inefficiency by avoiding orders from multiple supervisors. The principle eliminates conflicting instruction is streamlining operational processes and reducing inefficiencies. And also, it enhances hierarchical discipline. The application of unity of command strengthens the organizational structure, ensuring tasks are properly aligned with the responsibilities of respective supervisors. So, application indeed in our organizational structure. So, reflection in the hierarchy. So, unity of command within the DNR is evidenced by a clear hierarchical chain of authority, starting from the secretary and cascading down to field personnel through intermediaries like regional executive directors and senior officers. So, directive flow. Even when tasks originate from higher offices such as the regional office or PENRO, instructions are systematically passed through designated channels to ensure consistency and clarity at all levels. So, roll all in our office. In DNR Centro Calamanzig, this principle is strictly followed, no? Ensuring that all personnel receive directives only through their immediate supervisors, maintaining an orderly flow of tasks and avoiding confusion. So, importance in program implementation. It promotes coordinated efforts. So, Unity of Command facilitates seamless collaboration among technical staff, administrative personnel, and field workers, ensuring that activities such as forest protection, land management, and community-based programs are carried out effectively. And it enables prioritization of instruction by aligning instruction with approved work and financial plans. Tasks are systematically arranged to meet program objectives without unnecessary duplication or delays, and it prevents conflicting directives. So, field personnel benefit from avoiding contradictory assignments by receiving clear and singular instructions through established supervisory channels. So, it enhances monitoring and evaluation. So, supervisors are enabled to oversee progress, efficiently, ensuring program outputs are evaluated against targets, reducing wastage or mismanagement of resources. And it strengthens operational efficiency. Through unified oversight, the DNR ensures that programs are executed within prescribed timelines, optimizing the use of human and financial resources. So, the role in accountability and discipline. It promotes fairness in performance assessments by ensuring employees report to a single superior. It enables objectives and transparent evaluation of tasks and contribution. And it enhances operational discipline, defines clear lines of authority, establishing an organized framework for managing behaviors and work ethics within the organization, and enables efficient corrective action, mistakes, or operational issues are traced directly to the source, allowing responsible supervisors to implement prompt and effective solutions. So fosters professionalism. Employees are motivated to adhere to high standards of conduct and responsibility as roles and expectations are clearly communicated and supervised. So managing inter-office coordination without violating unity of command. So preservation of the supervisors or authority. Coordination with partner agencies or upper level offices like PENRO and the regional office should not bypass the immediate supervisor. No? This ensures that instructions are properly filtered and aligned with organizational protocols. So avoidance of overlapping directives. For smooth inter-office collaboration, all technical guidance or directives such as those from the regional office must be routed through the designated supervisors, such as the senior officer, to prevent contradictory tasks. So, clear delineation of responsibilities. When engaging with external entities like LGUs and people's organizations, it is vital to uphold the chain of command while assigning roles, ensuring that accountability and responsibility are always maintained by the designated immediate supervisor. So authorization of actions. While coordination with other units may require broader input, final approval lies with the immediate supervisor. This not only protects the integrity of the chain of command, but also ensures compliance with the proper protocols. Streamlining communication channels. So effective collaboration with external offices and agencies requires clear and consistent communication. So this involves adhering to the principle of unity of command while prioritizing directives based on the established organizational hierarchy. So, what is the relevance to good governance? So, it ensures orderly administration by prioritizing a structured chain of command. Unity of command minimizes confusion and creates a foundation for well-coordinated and seamless operations with the DNR. It also prevents misuse of authority. Clear lines of accountability deter arbitrary decision-making and ensures that each directive aligns with the overall mission and objectives of the department and promotes transparency and responsibility. A standardized reporting structure fosters transparency in decision-making and ensures that officials are held accountable for their actions and responsibilities. So, enhances public service delivery by eliminating conflicting directives. The principle of unity of command ensures that resources and personnel effectively focus on addressing the needs of the public, improving service efficiency. And thank you. That
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the last presenter in this group. My topic is about specialization and division of work and public interest and ethics. This is the introduction. In modern society, work is not done by one person alone. Large tasks are divided into smaller parts, and each person handles a specific role. This method helps work to be completed smoothly, quickly, and with better results. Specialization and division of work are the foundation of offices, hospitals, and even schools. What is specialization? Specialization means focusing on one particular type of work and becoming skilled at it over time. When a person repeatedly performs the same task, they gain experience and expertise. For example, in a hospital, one doctor treats heart problems while another treats lungs. Each doctor specializes in a specific area, which improves the quality of treatment. Ang specification ay kapag ang isang tao ay nakatuon lang sa isang uri ng trabaho dahil ulit-ulit na itong ginagawa, mas nagiging magaling siya. Division of work. Division of work means splitting a big job into smaller tasks and assigning each task to different people. Instead of one person doing everything, many people work together. For example, when making a chair, one person cuts the wood, another shapes it, and another paints it. This makes the work faster and easier. Next, what the difference between specialization and division of work? Division of work focuses on breaking a task into parts, while specialization focuses on mastering one part of the work. Division of work comes first and specialization develops from it. Together, they help organization function efficiently. Next, the advantages and disadvantages of this topic. The advantages, because of specialization and division of work, tasks are completed faster and with better accuracy. Workers become skilled and confident in their roles. Teamwork increases and organization grow more efficiently. While the disadvantage, doing the same work repeatedly can make work boring. Workers may depend too much on others and may not learn other skills. Sometimes, if one person fails to their part, the whole process can slow down. Disadvantage ng system na ito is mas mabilis matapos ang gawain, mas kaunti ang pagkakamali, at mas nagiging organisado ang trabaho. Natuto tayo na makipagtrabaho bilang isang team. Kada disadvantage, din minsan nagiging boring ang trabaho dahil paulit-ulit. May pagkakataon din na masyadong umaasa ang isang tao sa iba, kaya mahalaga ang tamang balanse ng ating trabaho. Next, the public interest and ethics. In my second topics. Introduction, every profession has a responsibility towards society. Decisions made by professionals affect many people. Ethics guides professionals to act honestly and responsibly while keeping the public welfare in mind. Public interest at ethics prosesyon ay may epekto sa lipunan, kaya mahalaga na ang bawat desisyon ay may koneksyon sa kapakanan ng publiko. Next is, what is public interest? Public interest refers to the welfare and benefit of society as a whole. Action taken in public interest aim to protect safety, health, and fairness for everyone, not just personal gain. Ang public interest daw ay tumutukoy sa kapakanan ng nakakarami. Hindi lang ito para sa isang tao, kundi para sa buong komunidad. Halimbawa, ang traffic rules ay ginagawa para sa kaligtasan ng lahat. Ang ethics naman, ethics are moral principles that help people decide what is right and wrong. They guide behavior and promote honesty, fairness, and responsibility in personal and professional life. Ang ethics naman ang pamantayan kung ano ang tama at mali. Ito ang gumagabay sa ating kilos at desisyon. Kapag etikal ang isang tao, siya ay tapat, patas at responsable. Importance of ethics in professional lives. Ethics build trust between professionals and society. They prevent corruption, misuse of power, and unfair practices. Ethical behavior ensures long-term respect and credibility. Ang kahalagahan naman ng ethics, dahil dito nabuo ang tiwala ng tao, pinipigilan nito ang korupsyon at pag-aabuso. Kapag ethical ang professionals, mas nare-respeto sila ng lipunan. Public interest versus personal interest. Ethics build trust between professionals and society. They prevent corruptions, misuse of power, and unfair practices. Ethical behavior ensures long respect and credibility. Conclusion. Public interest and ethics are essential for a fair and safe society. When professionals act ethical, society develops trust, stability, and progress. When specialization and division of work improve efficiency and productivity, ethics and public interest ensure that skills and power are used responsibly together. They support balanced social and economic development. Ibig sabihin, sa huli, ang public interest at ethics ay pundasyon ng isang maayos na lipunan. Kapag ang lahat ay kumikilos ng tama at responsable, mas nagiging maunlad ang ating bansa. Sa madalang salita, ang specialization of division of work ay tumutulong sa mas mabilis at maayos na trabaho, habang ang ethics at public interest ay nagsisiguro ang mga Ang mga kakayahan ay ginagamit para sa kabutihan ng lahat.